Welcome back to
Conversations with Chris.
and Crystal.
And today's episode is Sorry I Slept with Tom.
Yep. That is it. It occurred to me, I had a terrible crush on a guy in high school that was a year younger than me, and but I was just this nice girl, and he was at that age that boys are when
Very hormonal.
very hormonal, and as you know, he's in that hormonal stage of life where I guess it was appropriate to sleep with everyone, which wasn't going to happen with me because that was not in my vocabulary. That was not on my radar at all to be sleeping with anybody but the man I married. So that, not for lack of trying on his part, but no, that just wasn't going to happen. And so he would move on to the next person. And what I find interesting now is, you and I we were on an event where they said, well, what do people say about you? Don't ask anyone, just figure it out. So I went and got my yearbooks, and I was looking through them to see what people had said about me, and I was always this sweet, nice, cute kid, pretty much the same. And so I thought, and I started reading, and I started finding things from people. I don't know if I didn't notice them in the past or what, but there were girls apologizing to me for sleeping with him because they knew how I felt about him.
Have a nice summer. Sorry I slept with Tom.
It's just crazy. It's like, I started reading them and I thought, what in the world did this guy talk about with these girls when he was with them? I mean, we weren't dating. I mean, I liked him.
I just had a thought. What if he was like, the whole time he's with them, oh, Crystal's so wonderful, and then they're doing what they do, and he's all, oh, Crystal this, Crystal that. Why would you be with somebody who's talking about Crystal?
I know it. But it was really crazy. So I started looking further and and found things. What can I say? I hope I will see you after graduation because I'll miss everyone a lot. Sorry for the way things are. Don't ask what, but you know. I'll miss you. And I know that she slept with him. So apparently she was fighting the need to, apologize
unburden
for that.
herself.
Yeah, unburden herself, on a
program,
a playbill. Yeah, it was crazy. And then Tom wrote to me, I'm really glad that this play was a big success, and I'm really sad about our relationship. Well, anyway, good luck.
Well, anyway, good luck. Goodbye.
Yeah, see you around. So when I was going through the yearbooks, I was looking some things up just to see what people said. And in fact, it was just today I was reading what Tom had written to me. You're really a great person, even though you are a little hyper. Okay. But I'm glad I met you, and I hope we're still friends after all we've been through.
Like somebody else said.
Yeah, like somebody else said, if you want to join our club, they had a funny little thing, membership to our fan club. Take care of yourself always, and with love. We really loved you. A lot of people. A lot of people cited love so and so. It's like, and we really throw that
word
around,
away,
and we throw it away.
Around.
Yes, absolutely. And then, in spite of all our quarrels, in quotes, etc., you will always remain in my heart. We've had a lot of good times too, but really, good luck with your future plans and take good care of yourself always.
Okay.
Love always. And then I also had another gal, and I was so naive and really didn't realize any of this stuff. But there was a girlfriend of mine that pulled me into a practice room off of the choir room, and she had her guitar, and she was a singer, songwriter, and she said, I want you to listen to this song. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting there cross-legged on the floor, and she's across from me, and she's playing this song, and I don't think I was getting it. I wasn't understanding what she was trying to do, but she reached over to me, she stopped playing, she put her hand on my knee, and she said, Crystal, don't ever let anybody tell you you have to be like me. And I'm going, okay, whatever that means. And she said, you just stay as sweet and nice as you are. Much later in my life, I would realize, I know that she was self-proclaimed person who slept around with everybody at school. I knew that. But I never put it together with what she was saying to me. And I think the song was trying to apologize to me, but I didn't hear that either because I was just listening to a song. But I realize now she was apologizing to me for sleeping with him.
So like, we've been friends for oh so long. Sorry that I slept with Tom.
And I think it was a little more subtle, obviously, because I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
My other personal favorite was the gal from church who walked up to me. She also went to school there, and apologized to me for sleeping with him, because she knew how I felt about him. And there's
What
nothing.
did he do? Work his way through the whole
I
town?
know. It's the whole school anyway, and it's amazing. Like, and then just recently, you and I were talking, and I ran to look up something in the yearbook, and here's this Kathy person, whoever she was, saying the same thing, that I'm really sorry that I slept with him because I know how you felt about him. And I thought, how did people know how I felt about him? I guess you know how they say you look that way and people know.
Well, and then the question would be, so did you know how I felt about him before you slept with
Yeah,
him?
I think they did.
So it just didn't matter to you.
I know. It's just craziness. But it's interesting how I think it's like, how do I explain this with me? There's so many things that I'm very naive to, or I was back then, even more so. I mean, if that's even possible. I could watch, movies or hear songs. Even my husband, who's a musician, will say from time to time, "How did you like that song?" Because that's talking about having sex or doing something, and I never heard it that way. I mean, I was picking flowers, and I didn't hear the innuendo. I didn't understand. I liked the beat or whatever.
Yeah.
I never really took it like that, and. So I think a lot of the stuff that was written way back when, I didn't take it that way until later in my life. I looked back and I went, wow, what did that guy do? Like I said, who are they talking about? So at our 10-year class reunion, now again, he was a year younger, so he wasn't there. But he had a counterpart. We had Tom Sr. and Tom Jr., we called them. And the counterpart graduated with me. And he was also a friend of mine. And I don't remember really telling my husband a lot about Tom, but we were sitting at a table with a couple other people. They happened to be from marching band, and the Toms were in marching band as well. And one of the, Tom Sr. walked up with somebody else, and I said, "Hey, sit down. Have a chair." And he sat down, and I introduced him to my husband. I said, "Oh dear, this is Tom, whatever, and this is my husband." And Jeff looked at me, my husband looked at me, and he mouthed the words, "That's Tom," whatever, last name it was. And the whole table, he didn't say it, he mouthed it, and the whole table went, "Wrong one." So, and he was embarrassed. He was horrified, actually, like, oh my gosh, they knew what I was trying to say. Apparently it was really important to me. It had to be really important to me. And he was one of the first people that paid attention to me. And in fact, I actually ignored him for a long time. We were in a play together, and I'm an achiever. I'm a perfectionist. I was a lead dancer in the play, and we were doing this scene. We were working on it, and I had a book. Can I borrow your book? Because that's a better size. I had actually a very large book, and I had it in front of me, and I'm supposed to be standing there frozen because the choreographer has frozen everybody because she's trying to figure out where everybody's standing and what they're going to do. So I'm got this book in front of me, and I'm standing there with it, and I see off in the wings, off stage, I see this coffee table that I recognize from down in props, plop down on the floor there. And so so the next thing I know, Tom is sitting on it, looking underneath the book, going, "Hi." And I don't know him. I've never met him. So I just very slowly lowered my book to cover him up. Then he stood on top of the table and came over the top of the book, still off stage. They said, "Hi." And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go up like this now. who is this guy and why is he doing this? You know, I don't even know him. It was actually quite annoying. And then later, after the chorus was done, and then the leads would rehearse, I would go sit in the seats and watch, and he would come down there and sit next to me, and it was like, okay, I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you're here. And then there was an incident where we were all sitting in the seats, and they were talking to us about a bunch of stuff. And one of the things was we were going to sell candy bars to raise funds for the play. Mm-hmm. And so we're sitting there, and they said, okay, everybody get up, go up to the choir room, and get your box of candy bars. So I just stayed in my seat because, I mean, like 100 people got up and left. And it was like, I'm not going up there now.
Yeah.
And he happened to be a few rows down from me. And he turned around, he said, well, why aren't you going? I said, 100 people just got up now. I'm not going anywhere. And so he came and got me and dragged me down the aisle. It's kind of a joking thing, but mm-hmm. I'm thinking, this is, you know, I mean, he said, well, he goes, if you don't go, he goes, I'm going to make you. And I'm like, oh, really? You know how that goes. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, okay, I don't know you and I don't know what you're doing. He ended up picking me up and carrying me up the stairs. And I was horrified because I didn't want to be seen with this person I don't even know. I'm like, you need to put me down. You need to put me down now, right now. And he was laughing and making fun of it. But then we got to the top, and I think he realized, oh, okay. So he put me down, and I went into the choir room. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, keep this guy away from me. And so it took me quite a while to warm up to him because it was just nobody touched me. I was, you know, very untouchable. His best friend caught me one day outside later on in our relationship, and he said, you know, Crystal, you can't give him everything at one time. And I went, I'm sorry, what? What are we talking about? And he said, well, you can't just go to bed with him. And I said, I don't go to bed with anybody. And he went, oh, well, you'll be a challenge. And he walked away, you know, and that was it. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine that these kids were all doing this.
I don't know, but when I was in high school, I mean, nobody pursued me. Nobody.
Yeah.
And years later, I found out different people had come up to me and said, I had such a crush on you, but I was so afraid to say anything. And I was like, well, dang it, I could have had some dates.
Yeah,
right. Had some guts, but I only had 2 dates, and they were in my senior year. Same guy, and the church I went to scared him away, and he never asked me out again. Yeah. I found that out years later, too.
Yeah. But I mean, you find these things out.
But nobody pursued me like this guy's pursuing you. I mean,
it was just, yeah, I know. I've never had anybody else do that either. He was the only one who ever really did that hot pursuit kind of thing. And I kept thinking, who are you and why are you bothering me? I remember him and I fighting with each other. But I don't, and it was those, you know, those kind of spats that young people have. That's just fun. You know, it's fun to argue about something for the sake of arguing.
I never had fun arguing. I never wanted to.
He was a drummer, and in my senior year, I thought, oh, this is great. I was in this play. I was in the musical, the spring musical, and I thought, this is so great because he's not here anywhere. Because I had to forget about him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this wasn't going to work out. So it was so great that he wasn't there. And we were going through rehearsals, and we were, you know, doing all the stuff we were doing. And I think I had like 5 costume changes and 8 dance numbers and all kinds of stuff going on. And we were so busy. And we were standing out there, and our choreographer was notorious for everybody freeze. And I swear, I mean, maybe it was my age at the time. I felt like we stood for an hour doing nothing while she thought or tried to reconfigure. And in this particular instance, I was on the molding of the stage right out over the pit. And standing there, and so we're frozen, and we're standing, and we're standing, and we're standing, and we're standing. And that night, some of the pit band was coming in. The pit orchestra was slowly filtering in, and they weren't playing. They just got in their chairs and were watching us rehearse, watching us stand there right now. And I noticed at the back of the auditorium upstairs, we had a balcony that was the choir loft, the choir room. And I heard somebody swear, and I saw a drum fly past the open. They had automatic doors that could open and close, so they were open about 6 feet or so. And I thought, no, because the only person that used that drum set was him. And sure enough, he comes down the aisle carrying a couple pieces of his drum kit, and he's going to set up right underneath me, right there. And he set up, and we were still standing, and he looked at me with this cheesy grin like, hey, here I am. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't handle it. And it was nauseating, to say the least. I was really enjoying the time without him. and then he was back. And so we had funny things like that would happen. And I know he had a girlfriend, and she came running to me one day and she said, he's going to kill you. And I'm like, what are we talking about? And I went into my classroom, and I saw him come back by the door, and he just glared at me as he walked past the door. And I thought, well, I don't know what's going on. So the next day, I was in the choir room eating lunch, and he came in, and he pulled up a chair, and he sat next to me, and I said, so, I hear you want to kill me. He goes, well, that was yesterday, and everything's changed today. So high school. But it was that kind of stuff. We would go through that kind of almost play fighting. In fact, we did. That's right, we did. We were at a party, and we started, how you do abstract sound and motion, which is Stanislavski method acting, and you're supposed to do it in another language or make up, gibberish or whatever, but your intent comes through, and you push back on somebody, and then they push back, and you take turns arguing with each other or relaying some kind of a message. Well, he and I were actually arguing, just to be funny, and we would go back and forth. We'd back each other into walls and doors and, chairs and all that kind of stuff. And it was a real big joke. And we were good at it. We were able to do the intent and change intent and go back and forth. And that was fun. But yeah, he could be very cruel when he wanted to be, just very unkind, very cold and insensitive. There's a lot of those going around, aren't there? A lot of men like that. So, but then again, he could surprise you and just be really, really nice and fun to be with, and do things, with. I think we were in a car chase together. We used to race our cars together. I always won. And we used to do that too. So there was that going on, and all of our friends were with us, and we were in groups, and it was just fun. But I ended up getting a really big crush on him, and I would have to say that whatever real love that I had, I believe I left it with him. I really did. I was never really heavy into loving people anyway. I had a background where that wasn't really spoken. And so, but it's, I really did. I really did care about him in the right way. Obviously, he was thinking the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
he was
that
thinking
a
of
no.
physical love, and you were thinking of emotional
Yes,
love.
yes, and the lifetime type of thing. And, but, it worked out the way it did, and that's what it is. I did see him later when I decided to get married to somebody else, and I went to see him, and he had become a Christian, and he threw his arms around me, and he said, I love you so much. And I thought, okay, who's this guy? I don't know who he is. And he said he had met the most amazing woman, and that had changed his life, and he became a Christian, which is something his parents were praying for years. And that's why, and he knew that, and he would always say, I'm not going to become a Christian because they pray. Because of that, I'm not going to do it. So he did it anyway. Yep. God, God's going to find you eventually. Mm-hmm. And he did. And, it was sort of strange, to have him. I mean, what was I? Chopped liver? I was a Christian, and I knew better, and I was telling him. But again, the timing.
Well, that and the fact that I think you probably planted the seed.
That's me. I'm the seed planter.
Well,
I am. No, you're absolutely right.
And in some ways, that's a really good thing. That everything that in our life that happens, God can use it all to the good.
Yep. So and I was very happy for him. I was happy that he had. I'm sure his parents were
Ecstatic,
thrilled. Yeah, absolutely thrilled. And so I was happy for him. But again, like I said, it was just this weirdness of having these women feel that necessary to apologize to me for what they did. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't think I missed anyone. I'm trying to think if I missed anyone, because I every once in a while I the play bills for the plays or whatever, I happen upon something and I'll be, wait,
There's
what-
another one.
who is that? Yeah, who is that? Why is she saying that to me? Yeah.
Had a great time in the play. Sorry I slept with Tom.
Yep.
It
And
just cracks me up.
yeah. So so it was obviously an important time in my life and in my world, but yeah, I thought that was pretty humorous to find all that. I don't know why everybody felt so compelled to come and apologize to me. Bless your hearts. I hope that you were able to move on, because you probably were only with him one time, is what it sounds like, because I think it would get kind of crowded. There's a lot of people. That was a lot of people. Talk about sowing wild oats. I guess there's a thing to that. Sorry, I don't relate to that, but okay, then. So I think that's more than enough for today.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening, and share with us, your
horror stories.
your lovely dating, high school age confusion we'd love to hear from you. And so remember, take care of yourself, because nobody else will, apparently. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.